This is called the Hawkins chart. These are the dominant vibrations, and people will calibrate somewhere on this chart. And so you start on the lower stuff, which is stuff like shame, guilt, fear, desire, anger, pride. These are more medium, and these are higher vibe, which is peace, joy, love, acceptance, and willingness. Translate the chicken scratch. These high vibe states are what we're after, right? Where this is the bliss, flowing. This is when life is really good. Maybe you're on a first date, right? And everything's popping. Oh, man. And then down here is maybe when you start to fight and you can't stand each other. That's in suffering and getting by, and why people break up and get divorced. They're spending more time here than in here. So most people think that, where am I at on this vibration scale? Okay, I'm at pride, so I'm in pride. I'm trying to move up to courage, right? And then once I reach this level, then I can be neutral, and they play it like a video game. Right? Like, ooh, I'm just going to go to level 10, then 11, then 12, and just stay here, baby. I'm climbing up the ladder to enlightenment. And we finally arrive, and then the enlightenment's good, guys. Got to tell you, that is not it, okay? I wish it was some video game that we get to win. But you're always in a state of becoming. Now, more practical here. You have two different dominant vibrational points. The first is your habitual state. This is normally what you're in. On a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, this will roughly be the same, habitual, which is crazy because a lot of people that are in these lower vibrations, if they see this, like, I'm not low vibe because I have moments of peace, joy, love. Like when I go on that date and I'm instantly in a vibration with someone or with my friends, right? I'm instantly in that vibe. They bring me up. So habitual and temporary. Now, temporary doesn't mean you're staying there. It means it's coming and it's going. So to really raise your vibration and make it like better and make you love life more and all the stuff in it, you got to focus on the habitual state, not the temporary one. Because here's the trap. Temporary can also work the other way, where you're up here and you go back down here, like you're around the in-laws, you know, I call them outlaws, or people you don't necessarily get along with or choose to be around with, people that bring you down, and it's right down here, right? Or you get in a fight or something nasty happens, your boss yells at you. This is a temporary low state. And so the secret, guys, is not to try and chase after the temporary raising your vibrations. Because here's the trap that I was telling you about. A lot of people get on this trap of like partially raising their vibration. They read books, that gives them a temporary high. They go to seminars, retreats, that gives them a temporary high, right? People drink alcohol, which is around here. But don't confuse the temporary highs for the permanent ones or the habitual ones. So when you look back on your last year, are you habitually higher? Because here's the real goal, is not to get rid of the lows altogether, right? And you're like, what do you mean? Like, I'm doing shadow work, I'm meditating, I'm doing all this stuff. The goal, I believe, is to make your lows higher and your highs higher as well. Because when you focus on the lows too and you raise these up, not run away from them, like a lot of the stuff out there on YouTube is telling you, focus on what you want, don't say lack, because that reinforces it, right? To the degree that you will manifest that which you are in the divine angel creation, raise the lows up. That's positive. And that's the second thing I wish I would have known, is that yes, putting air in the hot air balloon is the way to fill it up and, you know, lift off. You need that. That represents the positive, good vibes. But if you never address the sandbags holding that thing on the ground, it's not going anywhere, is it? That air balloon can't fully take off, reach its highest vibration, highest point. So focusing on the negative stuff, the shadow work, the stuff that's deep down in these areas, that's not a negative act, that's actually a positive one. And that's the only way to not just get temporary highs, but to work through some of that stuff and move up to habitual new highs, to reprogram the thermostat right there. You following? Example, people who get in a new relationship out of a really bad one, and maybe they haven't done this inner work to heal from it or remove some of their inner blocks. That relationship that they get in, maybe you've known this or experienced this, they're like, oh, I dated a narcissist. Oh, it's such a narcissistic relationship. And just because you don't agree with someone doesn't mean they're a narcissist, right? Sometimes we got to pick up the mirror and look at what we contribute to as well. I'm not saying narcissistic people don't exist. I'm just saying, you know, this little tangent point, I think that word gets severely overused. Anyway, you get out of a relationship, you see someone get out of a terrible relationship, and what happens like a week later? They're in another one. It's great. They're like, this is the best person I can love again. I found the secret. They opened my eyes. Sometimes people get married after 2-3 months of that, right? After a terrible relationship, they bounce back and they're like, oh, this person actually doesn't talk over me and treats me somewhat decently. I'll settle. And it goes well. And they both feel like they're on something together and they feel like it's true. But then the temporary wears off. And they're what are they left with? The habitual state. You following this? So if we never address this habitual state, no matter who that cycle's just going to repeat. And that's why I believe sometimes you see people on marriage number 3, 4, 5, right? It's because they're like out of one, in one, out of one, in one, out of one, in one. And they never address the habitual stuff. They're just chasing after the temporary stuff. Because those are real. It's not like it's unreal. Those feelings of love that you're experiencing, that is love. Different kind of love, not the deep, compassionate love that we've talked about on this channel, but nevertheless, it's a real feeling. My point is that the only way through it is not around it. You don't ignore this stuff and it magically goes away. You got to put some inner work in. You got to really, again, pick up the mirror and ask some tough questions and heal from it and move past it. Now, whether this is therapy, I think therapy is great. I think it's fantastic. I don't know why anyone would discourage you or bash that. I think that's a great resource, someone who's trained. Or whether you're ready to not just, therapy's good, and I've had experiences with it, and again, I'm recommending it for a lot of people, but sometimes you can understand your problems and intellectualize them and get all that understanding on them, right? And describe them in nth degree and label yourself these 5 things, and I think therapy is good at giving you that understanding. But ultimately, too, you're ready to move past it and like get some action steps of what you're going to do beyond it. That's really where coaching, I believe, comes in. Right? And so this is what we're doing with our metamorphic coaching clients in our program down below is, yes, we pair you up with an NLP practitioner to do some inner alignment stuff that's super powerful for releasing some of that sandbag stuff. But we also talk about how to create what I call the 2.0 version of you and raise yourself up so your habitual highs are higher and the lows are higher as well. We're not going after this unrealistic enlightenment, right? Because you see some people who call themselves enlightened and they're on freaking drugs and they look crazy. Like, you don't want the enlightenment that some people are seeing. We're raising the lows, raising the highs all together. So if you want to apply for that, that's down below. Follow me on Instagram. I'm posting a lot of stuff behind the scenes there. If you want some more like personal stuff, I'm gonna be on tour, I'm gonna be doing updates and whatnot. Would love to have you over on Instagram. I've never tried to push that. I know it's kind of dead, but I'm kind of getting into it. A little late to the party, but yeah, come over there and hang out. Love each and every one of you. See you in the next video. Until then, stop settling, start living. See ya.